What if I told you that one of the most controversial wars in modern history wasn't officially declared a war at all? A conflict that spanned nearly 20 years, cost millions of lives, divided a superpower, and left scars that still shape global politics today. This is the story of the Vietnam War, a war not just fought in the jungles of Southeast Asia, but also in the living rooms of American families and the hearts of a generation. To understand the Vietnam War, we have to go back to the age of colonialism. Vietnam, once part of French Indochina, was ruled by France until World War II, when Japanese forces took control. After Japan's defeat in 1945, Vietnamese nationalist leader Ho Chi Minh declared independence, inspired by communist ideals. But France wasn't ready to let go. This led to the First Indochina War, which ended in 1954 with the Geneva Accords, splitting Vietnam at the 17th parallel into North Vietnam and South Vietnam. The stage was now set for a deadly proxy battle in the Cold War. The United States, fearing the domino effect, that if one country fell to communism, others would follow, saw Vietnam as a crucial frontline. In 1955, the U.S. began supporting South Vietnam's president, Ngo Dinh Diem, with money, weapons, and military advisors. But Diem's brutal regime alienated many, and resistance grew, especially from communist guerrillas known as the Viet Cong. What started as political tension soon turned into full-scale war. The tipping point came in 1964 with the Gulf of Tonkin incident, where U.S. ships were allegedly attacked by North Vietnamese forces. Whether it happened as reported is still debated, but it gave President Lyndon B. Johnson the green light to escalate. By 1965, U.S. ground troops were pouring into Vietnam. The war became a deadly stalemate, with American soldiers fighting an enemy they couldn't always see, in unfamiliar, unforgiving terrain. One of the most famous battles came in 1968, the Tet Offensive. On the Vietnamese New Year, the Viet Cong launched a massive surprise attack across South Vietnam, even reaching the U.S. Embassy in Saigon. Militarily, the U.S. won, but psychologically, it was a turning point. Americans at home saw the brutal reality of the war on TV, and trust in the government crumbled. Another major event was the My Lai massacre, where U.S. soldiers killed hundreds of unarmed Vietnamese civilians. News of the atrocity further fueled anti-war sentiment. At its peak, over 500,000 American troops were stationed in Vietnam, yet the U.S. government underestimated the resolve of the North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong. Back home, protests erupted. Students, civil rights leaders, even veterans spoke out. The war became the center of a cultural and political storm. The famous chant, "Hey, hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today?" echoed through the streets. By 1969, President Nixon introduced Vietnamization, gradually withdrawing U.S. troops and shifting the burden to the South Vietnamese. Meanwhile, Nixon secretly expanded the war into Cambodia and Laos, further fueling outrage. In 1973, after years of fighting, peace talks, and international pressure, the Paris Peace Accords were signed. U.S. troops left Vietnam, but the war wasn't over. In 1975, North Vietnamese forces launched a final assault. Saigon fell on April 30, 1975. The iconic image of helicopters evacuating Americans from the U.S. Embassy rooftop symbolized the dramatic end. Vietnam was united under communist rule. The cost was staggering, over 58,000 Americans killed, an estimated 2 to 3 million Vietnamese dead, billions of dollars spent, and a deeply divided American public. For Vietnam, the war left devastation, destroyed cities, poisoned land from Agent Orange, and a shattered economy. For America, it changed foreign policy forever, leading to a more cautious approach known as the Vietnam Syndrome. The war also left lasting scars on the soldiers who returned, many suffering from PTSD, addiction, or alienation. The Vietnam War wasn't just a military conflict. It was a battle of ideologies, generations, and beliefs. It asked hard questions. Can you fight for freedom abroad if there's unrest at home? What happens when a superpower faces an enemy it can't define? Today, the war stands as a reminder of the limits of military power, the cost of political misjudgment, and the strength of those who resist occupation on both sides. As we look back, not just to remember but to learn, the Vietnam War challenges us to think critically about history, power, and the true price of conflict. Thanks for watching. If you found this video insightful, hit that like button, subscribe for more untold history, and share your thoughts in the comments below. What lessons do you think the Vietnam War left behind?